Thank you. Thank you, John. Those inspiring remarks, and appreciate your leadership and all of you that are active and working, particularly in the Civil Rights Division. You know that we value your work and it will be supported. I want to thank Richard for his service, our junior ROTC members for presenting the flag, Rhea Walker for, again, starting off our program with her beautiful voice. And also want to thank Dory Ladner for being with us today. And thank you to Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, a real champion of our department, Rachel Brand, our associate, and FBI Director Chris Ray, right here in the front row, a very close friend of Larry Thompson's, and worked closely with him in this department. So these of all, I have to tell you, the people I've introduced and so many others in this department are wonderful human beings. They're strong leaders. They're dedicated to making this department as great as it can possibly be, and I am pleased to work with them and often for them in that effort. Thank you. A special thanks to our keynote speaker, Larry Thompson, former Deputy Attorney General of the United States. Larry, welcome back to the department. Larry and I were United States attorneys together when President Reagan and Congress established Martin Luther King Day as a national holiday in 1983. We all look forward to hearing your remarks this morning. And of course, I want to thank all of you here today to honor the memory and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. Remember, celebrate, and act. Dr. King was never elected to office or held a government title, but he helped transform our legal system by inspiring some of the transformative laws that we in this building enforce today. These include the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and the Fair Housing Act of 1968. It's important for those of us who enforce these laws to remember what it was like before they were passed. When I was growing up in rural Alabama, I regularly saw raw, unvarnished discrimination against a whole group of people because of the color of their skin. I grew up attending an all-white, public, segregated school. I saw evidence of discrimination, as we really all did every day. Schools were separate and clearly unequal. There was open wage discrimination in the marketplace. Police and sheriff's offices were often all or virtually all white. Black citizens were often blatantly and systematically denied the right to vote. African Americans were denied basic rights of citizenship. That's a fact. It was not that long ago. I can remember riding on an all-white school bus and passing every morning an all-black school bus. Just one look at the buses was enough to know that separate was not equal. We were living under a system that corrupted law, that was not moral. Dr. King exposed that system for what it was to the country and to the world, and helped end it by putting it to shame. He was inspired by two sources above all others: the founders of this country and the Christian faith he professed. He preached no new commandment, but that which was from the beginning. He gave new vigor and new expression to timeless ideas recorded centuries before in our Declaration of Independence and on the well-worn pages of his Bible. He fought for the timeless notion that there is a higher law of right and wrong written on our hearts that sits in judgment even on the laws we pass. And he fought for the belief, as Lincoln put it, that right makes might. His was an openly religious movement. As he put it, quote, "Each individual has certain basic rights that are neither derived from nor conferred by the state. They are gifts from the hands of Almighty God." He might have looked outnumbered. After all, he was a young preacher. His opponents had the power of the establishment, the state, the fire hoses, clubs, and guns. All he had were his words and the power of truth. But he was relentless, relentless even unto death. His message, his life, his death changed hearts and minds. Those changed souls then changed the laws of our country. He was harassed, threatened, beaten, stabbed, imprisoned 30 times, and his home was bombed. But through it all, he refused to sink to the idea of violent retaliation. As he himself put it, quote, "You can't reach good ends through evil means." You must know, I hope we all remember, this peaceful approach was controversial even then. Violence was in the air. It was indeed a dangerous time. His leadership, his method of demanding change and justice was of monumental importance. Though he was taken from us, no assassin could silence him. His voice still echoes in the laws and institutions he influenced, including this Department of Justice. Indeed, while he led the movement, the Department of Justice, in a sense, became the engine, the ground game for making his dream a reality. Whatever you do here at this department, let us all renew our dedication to promoting justice, whether that's by protecting law-abiding citizens from crime or defending their rights in court. Today, we celebrate, we remember. Tomorrow, we will go forth to act.